Hey folks, this is Marcus from the Skeleton Key. This is not a weekly reading video, this is a little video about me. So I realized for the past couple months, I've only been posting videos about my readings and things like that, but folks have been asking me, how did I get into this? How do you get into the pagan practice, things like that, the old craft? So I'm just basically going to go into how I basically started doing professional readings, but also getting into walking my own path, walking into a path of empowerment and studying different parts of magic, studying different things that I've found to be true for me. So this is all basically going to be my opinion, my experience, and things like that. I guess you could say everything kind of started off when I was little. I mean, every kid loves magic, but I really wanted to find real magic, so I learned about different stones. One of the first magic books I picked up was Scott Cunningham's Crystal Gems and Metal Magic, so not many people have that, but it was a really good reference to see and to get the first basics of what magic is and what it isn't, the old practices of the old craft and old ways and things like that, to basically understand, what do stones really do. I always thought stones were magical and things like that, so I wanted to work real magic. I wanted a crystal to hold in my hand and really do magic. There was a couple times when I actually did achieve a couple things. There's rose quartz for friendship, turquoise for obtaining wealth and money and things like that, and they actually did work. So I kind of just really just kept going with it, and basically having a love for stones and things like that. I grew up in a Mexican Roman Catholic home, so there wasn't a big influence of the Virgin Mary or anything like that, but we went to Mass and things like that. But as I grew older, I started branching off into different things to learn about different religions, but I still kind of went back to wanting to learn about magic. And in my first year of college, I bought my first tarot deck. I would practice reading cards on folks that I knew through class, through friends, things like that, dates, things like that. And I kind of learned to actually read and learn the basics of how to read the tarot basically, with the major arcana, minor arcana, and things like that. It wasn't just a hobby. It was a skill that I learned. Along with my background in theater and communications, it was basically something that helped me to create a story, to create an outline, but also an agenda for folks. And this always happened, but anytime someone said, "Don't give me the death card, don't give me the death card," what's the first card that pops up? The death card. When it comes to magic, or when it comes to witchcraft and pagan practices, it is a bit more personal, but I can tell you that I have been on a wonderful journey of self-discovery with that, and actually building my own business as a spirit worker and a spiritual counselor and a reader. It is a craft. It is a business that isn't widely respected, but and you do find there are lots of people that are popping up shops and things like that. But people have actually been known to actually develop really good business models, also helping the community and things like that. I've learned through one of my teachers, that this job doesn't really, just something you don't really choose. Sometimes it chooses you. There are people that I can actually preach to a flock of people, and then there are some people that just kind of clench up and don't really know what to say. So it's the same thing with being the wise person or the healer in your circle or your community. There are those people that actually can speak with spirit and have spirit come through them through the tools that they work with. So the tools that I work with are tarot cards. After I bought my first deck, it was like one of those little mini booklets that you get at a bookstore that had a little tiny pack of tarot cards. Then I had a relative, my sister actually, bought me my first tarot deck. It was the Marseille tarot deck. It was a French deck, so it was a French cut. And I would work with it and use it and read with it. It was very, very beautiful. And then other decks started appearing and speaking to me. There was the Cosmic Tribe deck by Stevie Postman, who is a wonderful artist. He's a participant in the Radical Fairy community. Google that, Radical Fairy. And other decks just basically would come and go, things like that. I started getting to know other people who were queer and pagan, other gay men who were pagan in my community. One of my best friends, actually, I would start reading with him because it was just a skill. It was something that we loved to do. We would pick out cards for the season ahead. We would pick out, we would actually draw cards for advice, and we would read each other. And one of my first jobs actually was in the, which is the queer neighborhood in my city. There was a psychic shop that popped up one day, and something just urged me to walk inside and ask if I can have a job. So my first job professionally as a reader was at a cafe, which didn't really live long. I was just a tarot reader for weekends and for nights and with a bunch of college students. But my first professional job was with a company called the Golden Rose Psychic Services, and it is amazing. They're with Dr. Lauren Cielo. He's an amazing reader, and the technique that they use is called the Berkeley Psychic Institute technique, where they see energy basically come up into the form of roses, and there are other techniques that you actually help read and help heal a client with whatever's going on with them. So along with my tarot skills, I was able to learn the technique that they have and that they work with, and for about 2 years, maybe, I was one of the readers there, and I had a little blog going, I had a little following, I had great experiences, which will probably be another video I'm gonna make, but that was very short-lived. The business decided to change directions, and I was one of the folks that was let go. But, you know, it happens to the best of us, you know, and I don't regret that experience at all. So the next place I went to as a reader was a crystal shop that was very well known in the city that I work in, and I basically was the person that was hired right after there was a reader who had a bad reputation. It's kind of hard to clean up that mess when someone who basically manipulates their clients. It's hard to reinstill trust in people, and especially into this practice, especially into this this career, this path, for people to really believe in themselves and the tools that what they're grasping for, what they're trying to comprehend for themselves. It was a wonderful experience, but it was also short-lived. The store closed within a year that I was there, and I was the last reader there, but I gained a lot of great experience. I started to work with my own tools again. Besides tarot, I started working with keys. Keys are kind of a big thing for me now. Well, for the past decade, they have been a very big thing in my life. They have been the symbol of knowledge, they have been the symbol of strength, they have been the symbol of potential. There's many different symbolisms behind it, but I just started working with skeleton keys and thought they were just the most perfect symbol I can work with to work my own magic. And I would actually start making talismans from the keys that I would find, wrapping stones and things like that, and make a little Etsy shop and stuff like that. And then one of my fairy brothers and his partner asked me to come to dinner one day, and they had a gift box for me with all these, like, thousands of keys. I still have tons of keys, like old keys, skeleton keys, modern master keys, things like that. I was able to use those, and thank you guys, by the way. I still have a lot. I worked with those to actually make talismans and do a lot of art installations, and I developed my own system of divination, which I still use to today. So my box of keys is a ever-growing thing. It is always growing. I have keys that are given to me. Each key that I actually assign in my divination system speaks to me. They basically talk to me, and when I work with them in a reading, I basically, tell the client out loud, like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I'm hearing and seeing. Does this fit with what's going on with you? And it's been working for the past maybe 7 to 10 years, and I love where it's going. I'm learning different things about keys and the symbolisms of it, magically and historically, things like that. And yeah, I've presented at PantheaCon, which is a West Coast convention for pagans, and it's one of the biggest ones here in California. And I presented about 3 times on key magic, and there's always something new that I'm learning every year. We always do like a little blessing or something to help folks unlock the magic themselves. Okay. When it comes to being a professional reader, you're not going to find success fast. You're not going to find lots of clients immediately. You're not going to find a storefront to work out of immediately. What you do have to keep in mind is knowing who you are and knowing your strengths, knowing the skills that you have and your connection to spirit, whatever it may be, with whatever tool, crystals, keys, cards. If you are an intuitive, if you are a spirit worker and you work with the spirit of other things, it really depends. If you know what you're doing and you can do it, great. If we can't always, make a buck out of it. Some people actually do a lot of this stuff privately, and can't really set up shop. There's many different schools of thought, but the first thing that, if you are deciding to become a professional reader or a professional spirit worker or anything like that, really get to know who you are. There are many different things that I've thought I was when I was growing up and learning about witchcraft and southern conjure and hoodoo and curanderismo and things like that. And there's so much more to learn than just what you can read from one book. There's many different versions of what people can actually learn, or even teach and regurgitate and things like that. A lot of this stuff is actually experiential. When it comes to being a spirit worker, you're also working yourself. You are working with God, you're working with spirit, and you're finding things about yourself constantly at the same time too. You may be the messenger, you may be the healer for that moment for somebody, but you're not perfect. So, if you're starting off, learn a tool. Read about it, study it, read every day, whatever it is you feel that you need to do in order to get a grasp or understanding of it. The I Ching, there's many different references to that. There's many different things that you have to look into for a specific reading. For the tarot, there are 78 different cards. For runes, there's many different combinations that they can come into in a reading, or ogam, things like that. Whatever divination tool that you have, just get a good base on it and study. You don't have to be perfect, but get a grasp and learn the language. Let it be part of you at the same time too, not just something you do every weekend. Another thing too, if you are planning on being a professional spirit worker, constantly learn. There's conventions, there are workshops, there are people all around the country and the globe that are willing to teach and willing to help share knowledge, but at the same time, there are some things that cannot be shared. There are groups that you can join, spiritual groups, covens, things like that, but always keep in mind, what is your own truth, and if it doesn't feel right, don't go towards it. Stay connected to a community. If you know folks that are in similar practices or anything like that, set up a full moon gathering, set up a tarot circle, do a meditation night or anything like that. You know, get to know folks. That way you don't feel like you're alone or the only person doing this thing. Doing this service. That way you can still grow your skills, get to know each other, and if there's someone who is very knowledgeable in herbs and you're needing to do something with herbs, then you can go to that person. Or if you're needing a healing, work with folks that are Reiki masters, things like that. Not Reiki masters, but you know, Reiki healers, things like that. And that way you can learn something for yourself, but also heal yourself at the same time too. If there is more than one healer, reader, things like that in the general area that you're in, some things may come up, you know, turf issues, turf wars, pricing, things like that. The price for a reading really does depend on the business. If you are a subcontractor person, then discuss that with the owner of the business. You know, I work at Blackbird, and so a portion of my readings, portion of the percentage of my readings actually go back to the shop, and so do some of the items that I make and that are made for commission, things like that. So it's important to discuss that with whoever you are working with, if you are a business partner or someone who's subcontracted. Even looking at the different businesses in the area. Some people say the competition, but you want to see who your neighbors are too. That way you want to see if you're offering the same thing, you know, is it the same thing or something with a little twist? How's, not to say that yours is better, but how can you assure that you're doing the same thing while maintaining your integrity? Okay, so I want to make this quick before getting into a 20-minute mark, but final thoughts basically is that just enjoy the ride. You know, you don't have to become a success. There's no way you can become a success overnight. To being a spiritual worker, to being a tarot reader, to being a healer, things like that. You have to really get to know yourself, get to know your craft, get to know your community, and see where it goes. Not many people are meant to do this. You know, sometimes you may know how to read a card, but may not know how to talk to people, gather resources in case something really serious comes up and they need more help than you can provide. Things like that. All right. So, but for now, folks, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this little video about myself and how I started working with what I do for the Skeleton Key and also for my path. More videos to come on basically the development of a spiritualist or a spirit working path. More like the professional side, not just the magic or anything like that. But until then, folks, just unlock the magic. Bye.